Theory of forms, a comprehensive examination. Plato's theory of forms, often referred to as the theory of ideas, stands as a monumental concept within the world of philosophical thought. Introduced primarily in the Republic, it's a concept that fundamentally challenges our perceptions of reality and knowledge. Essence of the theory: at its core, the theory of forms argues that the tangible world, with all its fluctuating changes, is not the ultimate reality. Instead, there exists an abstract, eternal realm of forms, which are perfect, immutable archetypes of the things we see in the physical world. Every tree, rock, or animal we perceive is merely an imperfect copy of its perfect form. But it's not just tangible objects. Abstract concepts like love, justice, and beauty also have their ideal forms. Epistemological implications. From an epistemological perspective, this theory suggests a hierarchy of knowledge. Our understanding of the physical world, being ever-changing and imperfect, is of a lower order. It's based on our senses, which Plato deemed unreliable. True knowledge, according to Plato, is a deep understanding of the eternal forms. This is attained not through sensory perception, but through intellectual and philosophical introspection. This means that for Plato, philosophy becomes the highest form of thought, a pursuit that brings us closer to understanding the eternal truths of the universe. Ethical and moral dimensions. The theory of forms has profound ethical implications. If there exists a perfect form of virtues like justice, courage, and temperance, then our moral endeavors should aim to understand and emulate these forms. Our understanding of what is morally right or just is tied to how closely our actions align with these ideal forms. Morality, in this view, isn't relative but anchored in the eternal realm of the forms. Critiques and challenges. While the theory of forms is a centerpiece of Platonic thought, it's not without its challenges. Aristotle, Plato's most famous student, critiqued the theory on several fronts. He questioned how these forms exist independently of the physical world and how they interact with it. If the forms are perfect and eternal, how do imperfect copies come into being in the physical realm? Another critique concerns the third man argument. If, for instance, there's a form of man that all men partake in, wouldn't there be a need for another form that both the form of man and physical men partake in? This seemingly creates an infinite regress of forms. Relevance in modern times. Despite these critiques, the theory of forms remains relevant, especially in discussions about universals and abstract entities in contemporary metaphysics. Furthermore, in a world where relativism often reigns supreme, the idea of objective truths or realities, as presented by the forms, offers a counterpoint for discussion. Moreover, in fields like mathematics, the existence of abstract entities that seem to have a reality independent of the physical world echoes Plato's forms. When a mathematician discusses the properties of a perfect circle, are they not in some way discussing the form of the circle, as Plato might argue? Plato's theory of forms is a foundational concept in Western philosophy, providing a framework for discussions on reality, knowledge, and morality. By positing an eternal realm of perfect forms, Plato challenges us to look beyond the tangible and consider the abstract, urging us towards a deeper, more profound understanding of the universe and our place within it. Whether one accepts or critiques the theory, its influence and legacy are undeniable, making it a cornerstone for philosophical inquiry. Justice in the individual and the state. Plato's exploration of justice, both in the soul of the individual and within the construct of the state, is one of the crowning themes of the Republic. These reflections push us to ask foundational questions about the nature of morality, society, and the human soul. The nature of justice. Plato embarks on the formidable task of defining justice in Book I, when Polemarchus offers the familiar view that justice is doing good to friends and harm to enemies. Socrates, however, deconstructs this, highlighting its moral inconsistencies. Instead of settling on a hasty definition, Plato deepens the quest by exploring how justice manifests in both larger societies and individual souls. Justice in the State. By Book IV, Plato outlines his vision of the just state. This state is composed of three classes: the rulers, the warriors, and the producers. Each class corresponds to a part of the soul and has a specific virtue. The rulers possess wisdom, the warriors courage, and the producers temperance. Justice, in this model, emerges when each class performs its designated role without meddling in the affairs of the others. It's a kind of societal harmony, where each part supports the whole, ensuring stability and unity. This notion of justice challenges us to consider not just individual acts, but the broader structural and systemic elements that constitute a just society. Justice in the individual. Plato's tripartite model of the soul serves as a microcosm of his vision for the just state. He proposes that the soul, like the state, is divided into three parts: the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive. The rational part is concerned with truth and wisdom. The spirited part deals with emotions like honor and indignation. And the appetitive desires physical pleasures, such as food, drink, and sex. Just as the state is just when each class functions in its rightful capacity, an individual is just when each part of their soul operates harmoniously, with reason guiding the spirited and appetitive elements. Implications for ethics and morality. Plato's discussion on justice is not a mere academic exercise. If justice in the individual mirrors justice in the state, then personal virtue and societal virtue are deeply intertwined. Personal morality is, in essence, a reflection of one's internal harmony, where desires and emotions are moderated by reason. This perspective provides a robust counter to moral relativism, suggesting that there are objective criteria for what constitutes a just and virtuous life. Moreover, the interconnectedness of individual and societal justice implies that personal transformation and societal transformation go hand in hand. One cannot exist without the other. For a society to be just, its individuals must strive for personal justice and vice versa. Relevant to contemporary society, Plato's exploration of justice feels particularly resonant in modern times. Contemporary societies grapple with defining justice, especially in the face of complex socio-political issues. Plato's emphasis on systemic harmony provides a blueprint for understanding justice not just as retribution or fairness, but as a holistic, balanced interplay of societal elements. Furthermore, the emphasis on internal harmony pushes individuals to introspect and recognize the role of self-awareness and self-regulation in leading a just life. In an age of instant gratification, the idea of the rational soul reigning over impulsive desires feels more pertinent than ever. Plato's discourse on justice in the Republic challenges us to see justice not as an abstract concept, but as a lived reality, both for the individual and the state. By intertwining personal morality with societal structures, Plato underscores the profound connection between the individual and the collective. This holistic vision of justice, which emphasizes harmony, balance, and unity, remains a potent touchstone for philosophical and ethical discussions, urging modern societies to reflect on the foundational principles that guide them. The Philosopher King, Plato's ideal ruler. The concept of the Philosopher King, central to Plato's The Republic, has intrigued thinkers and scholars for generations. Emerging as a solution to the governance problems that plagued Athens, this figure embodies the ideal of enlightened leadership. Origins of the Philosopher King. The turbulence of Athenian politics, marked by treachery, demagoguery, and the trial and execution of Socrates, no doubt influenced Plato's thoughts on governance. Frustrated with the fleeting whims of democratic rule, Plato envisioned a leader not swayed by public opinion or personal gain, but driven by knowledge and the love of truth. Essence of the Philosopher King. For Plato, the Philosopher King is the embodiment of wisdom in leadership. Such a leader has ascended the divided line, moving from ignorance to opinion, and from belief to true knowledge. This ascent culminates in the understanding of the form of the good, the highest reality. Having seen this truth, the philosopher is uniquely equipped to guide the state towards justice and the common good. Training and selection. It's important to note that Plato's Philosopher King doesn't assume leadership by birthright or through popular election. Instead, the Republic outlines a rigorous education process. Starting from a young age, potential rulers are trained in various disciplines, from mathematics to music, fostering both intellectual and moral virtues. They then face tests to sieve out those ruled by base desires. Only those who remain just and unwavering, even in the face of temptations, are deemed fit to lead. The reluctant ruler. Interestingly, Plato believed that those most fit to rule are often those least desiring of power. The true philosopher, having glimpsed the eternal realm of forms, views earthly power as transient and somewhat trivial. It's precisely this lack of ambition that makes the philosopher an ideal ruler. They rule not for personal gain, but out of duty to the polis. Challenges and critiques. The idea of a philosopher king, while captivating, has its detractors. Detractors argue that merging political and philosophical power could lead to an autocratic regime. If the philosopher believes they alone grasp the truth, could this not lead to a suppression of dissenting voices? Moreover, Plato's mistrust of democracy and his turn to an enlightened monarch raises questions about the role of the populace in governance. While the philosopher may be wise, does that negate the collective wisdom of a community? Relevance in modern times. While few modern states have philosopher kings, the archetype raises pressing questions about leadership. In an age of complex geopolitical dynamics, environmental crises, and technological upheaval, Plato's call for leaders grounded in wisdom and virtue resonates deeply. The emphasis on a ruler's education underscores the importance of informed leadership. In modern terms, it champions leaders who understand science, ethics, economics, and more, ensuring decisions are made from a place of knowledge rather than ignorance or populist appeal. Moreover, the notion of the reluctant ruler finds echoes in various historical figures who've led not out of a thirst for power, but a sense of duty. Figures like George Washington, who willingly relinquished power, or Nelson Mandela, who stepped down after one term, exemplify this ideal. Plato's Philosopher King, while a product of its time, offers timeless insights into the nature of leadership. The figure challenges us to envision a ruler not seduced by the trappings of power but anchored in wisdom and moral integrity. In proposing this ideal, Plato underscores a profound belief that the state's health is deeply intertwined with the character of its leaders. It's a call not just for enlightened rulers, but also for a citizenry that values and demands wisdom in those who lead them. The three parts of the soul. Plato's psychological insight. Plato's tripartite theory of the soul, as presented in the Republic, offers an intricate view of human psychology, weaving together ethical considerations, the quest for personal harmony, and the makeup of a just state. The framework of the tripartite soul. Plato discerns three distinct parts within the human soul. 1. The rational part. This is the aspect of the soul that seeks truth, engages in abstract thought, and loves wisdom. It's the thinking, logical component that distinguishes humans from other animals. 2. The spirited part. This segment, also known as thumos, is tied to emotions and sentiments, particularly those linked to honor, shame, and indignation. It's the part of us that gets riled up in defense of a principle or feels the sting of wounded pride. 3. The appetitive part. This pertains to our base desires and urges, especially those connected to physical needs and wants, such as hunger, thirst, and sexual drives. It is the most primal part, shared with animals. Harmony in the just soul. For Plato, justice in the individual, much like in the state, is a matter of proper order and harmony. When the rational part governs the spirited and appetitive parts, a person acts justly. This internal hierarchy reflects the external one in Plato's ideal state, the philosopher kings, the guardians, and the producers. When each part of the soul performs its function without overriding the others, inner harmony is achieved. Ethical implications. The tripartite soul model holds profound ethical ramifications. Our moral struggles, according to this model, are internal battles between the soul's parts. For instance, when faced with a moral dilemma, the appetitive part might urge one towards self-gratification, the spirited part might pull towards honor, while the rational part would weigh the ethical dimensions. Virtue emerges when the rational part, with its broader perspective, guides the other two. Critiques and counter-arguments. While the tripartite theory offers a comprehensive model of human psychology and morality, it hasn't escaped scrutiny. Modern psychology, particularly with Freud's structural model of the psyche, provides both parallels and points of divergence. Freud's it resonates with Plato's appetitive soul, the ego with the rational, and the superego with the spirited. However, Freud's approach is more deterministic, emphasizing unconscious drives, whereas Plato offers a more voluntaristic model, allowing for moral choice and growth. Additionally, some critics argue that Plato's division oversimplifies the complexities of human nature, reducing multifaceted emotions and motivations into three broad categories. Modern relevance and applications. Plato's tripartite soul theory remains influential, finding echoes in various psychological, philosophical, and spiritual traditions. Many self-help and personal growth philosophies emphasize achieving balance between one's desires, emotions, and rational thinking, reflecting the Platonic quest for inner harmony. Furthermore, understanding this model helps in deciphering contemporary ethical dilemmas. For example, in debates about consumerism, the appetitive soul's unchecked desires can be seen as leading to overconsumption, while the rational soul might advocate for sustainability. Plato's concept of the tripartite soul delves deep into the human psyche's core, offering a blueprint for understanding our drives, desires, and deliberations. More than just a psychological theory, it ties into Plato's broader vision of a just individual within a just society. By highlighting the interplay and potential harmony between the soul's parts, Plato underscores the intricate dance between reason, emotion, and desire that underpins the human experience. It's a testament to his insights that, millennia later, we still grapple with, reflect upon, and seek to embody the balance he championed. The role of women in the state. Plato's vision of gender equality. In the annals of ancient philosophical writings, Plato's stance on women in the Republic stands out as an especially forward-thinking perspective, particularly when considered within the sociocultural context of ancient Athens. His propositions regarding the role of women in the ideal state challenge many prevailing norms of his time, offering a radical reconceptualization of gender roles and abilities. Historical context. Understanding the context of ancient Athens is crucial. Women had limited rights, were largely excluded from public life, and were primarily relegated to domestic roles. Education for women was minimal and was more about managing a household than intellectual or philosophical endeavors. Against this backdrop, Plato's proposals in the Republic were revolutionary. Plato's vision of women in the ideal state. Central to Plato's argument is the idea that the difference between men and women lies in their respective roles of procreation and child-rearing. Beyond this biological distinction, the capacities of the soul, reason, spirit, and appetite, are universally human attributes, unaffected by gender. 1. Equal capacity for virtue. Plato asserts that women, like men, possess the full range of human virtues and capacities. While some women may be stronger or more intelligent than some men, and vice versa, there is no inherent quality that makes one gender superior to the other in these respects. 2. Education and training. Women, in Plato's ideal state, should receive the same education and training as men. If the state is to truly thrive, it must cultivate the virtues and abilities of all its citizens, regardless of gender. This involves not just basic education but also advanced studies in mathematics, philosophy, and other disciplines, along with physical training. 3. Guardianship and leadership. If women are given the same education and training as men, and if they demonstrate the same aptitudes and virtues, then there's no rational basis to exclude them from the guardian class or leadership roles. A woman with the soul of a philosopher should be educated and allowed to become a philosopher queen. 4. Challenging social constructs. By emphasizing that roles should be allocated based on ability rather than gender, Plato challenges deeply ingrained social constructs. The traditional division of roles based on gender, he argues, is not only unjust but also detrimental to the state, as it fails to harness the full potential of half its population. Counter-arguments and critiques. While Plato's views on women are progressive for his time, they aren't without critique. 1. Pragmatic, not entirely egalitarian. Some scholars argue that Plato's motivation is pragmatic rather than wholly egalitarian. The aim is to ensure the best guardians for the state, irrespective of gender, rather than a genuine pursuit of gender equality for its own sake. 2. Biological assumptions. Plato's acceptance of certain biological assumptions, like men generally being stronger than women, has been critiqued, especially from modern perspectives that challenge such binary views of gender. 3. Selective equality. The egalitarian vision primarily concerns the guardian class, with less focus on gender roles among the producing class. This selective application raises questions about the depth of Plato's commitment to gender equality. Enduring legacy and modern implications. Despite critiques, Plato's perspectives on gender in the Republic have had a lasting impact. His views laid early philosophical groundwork for discussions on gender equality, emphasizing the importance of capacity over gender in determining roles and responsibilities. In modern discourse on gender roles and feminism, Plato's ideas resonate in several ways. 1. Breaking stereotypes. Just as Plato challenged the gender norms of his day, contemporary societies grapple with dismantling stereotypes and ensuring that roles and opportunities aren't determined by gender. 2. Equal opportunities. Plato's call for equal education and training finds echoes in contemporary demands for gender equality in educational and professional spheres. 3. Leadership roles. The debate on women's representation in leadership roles, be it in politics, business, or academia, can find ancient parallels in Plato's arguments for women guardians and rulers. Plato's The Republic offers a groundbreaking perspective on women's roles in the state, challenging the entrenched norms of his society and paving the way for future discourses on gender equality. By arguing for roles based on ability rather than gender and championing equal education and opportunities, Plato laid foundational ideas that continue to inspire and inform contemporary discussions on gender roles and equality. The role of art in imitation. Plato's skepticism and its implications. Plato's views on art, as discussed in The Republic, are both intriguing and controversial. Rooted in his broader philosophical ideas about reality, truth, and ethics, his take on art and its role in society offers profound insights into the nature of representation and the impact of imitation on the human psyche and the state. Understanding mimesis. At the heart of Plato's critique of art is the concept of mimesis, commonly translated as imitation or representation. For Plato, the world we perceive through our senses is already an imperfect copy of the true, eternal, and unchangeable world of forms or ideas. Art, being an imitation of the sensory world, is thus an imitation of an imitation, distancing it further from the truth. Threefold remove from reality. 1. World of forms. This is the realm of eternal, unchangeable truths, the highest level of reality. 2. Physical world. The tangible, sensory world is an imperfect reflection of the forms. For instance, a beautiful object in the physical world is a fleeting and imperfect representation of the eternal form of beauty. 3. Artistic representation. When an artist creates, say, a painting of a beautiful object, this artwork becomes a copy of a copy, even more removed from the true form of beauty. Plato's ethical concerns with art. For Plato, this distance from truth isn't just a metaphysical concern. It has moral and ethical implications. 1. Emotion over reason. Art's power to evoke strong emotions can cloud rational judgment. By playing on our feelings, art can make the untrue seem true and the wrong seem right. This is particularly concerning for Plato, who values reason above all. 2. Moral impact. Because art often portrays immoral actions and base desires without clear consequences, it can normalize and even glorify such behaviors, leading individuals away from virtuous living. 3. Lack of true knowledge. Artists, Plato argues, have no true knowledge of what they represent. A painter might paint a bed, but the carpenter who makes it has a more genuine understanding, and even the carpenter's knowledge is inferior to the divine craftsman who understands the form of the bed. Art in the ideal state. Given these concerns, Plato's ideal state has limited room for art. 1. Censorship. Only art that promotes morality and the values of the state would be allowed. Anything that could mislead or corrupt the populace, particularly the guardian class, would be banned. 2. Educational role. The accepted forms of art should play a pedagogical role, instilling virtues and proper values in citizens. 3. Music and poetry. While Plato is wary of certain musical modes and rhythms that might evoke negative emotions, he recognizes the potential for music and poetry to cultivate virtues. Counter-arguments and reception. Plato's stringent views on art have been both critiqued and defended over the millennia. 1. Art as truth-telling. Contrary to Plato's idea that art is far from truth, many argue that art captures truths about the human experience that are inaccessible to straightforward description or analysis. 2. Emotional catharsis. Aristotle, Plato's student, saw the emotional impact of art, especially tragedy, as beneficial. By evoking and then purging strong emotions, art provides a form of catharsis, leading to emotional balance and understanding. 3. Artistic knowledge. The notion that artists lack genuine knowledge has been challenged by many who see artistry and the creative process as avenues of profound insights. Modern implications and reflections. Plato's reservations about art resonate in modern debates about media influence, censorship, and the ethical responsibilities of artists. 1. Media influence. Concerns about the impact of media on societal values and behavior echo Plato's worries about art's potential to mislead. 2. Artistic freedom versus social responsibility. The tension between allowing artists complete freedom and ensuring that art serves societal good is a contemporary reflection of Plato's deliberations. 3. Art as a path to truth. The modern era, with its diverse artistic movements, often sees art as a medium to challenge conventions, shed light on societal issues, and provide unique insights into the human condition. Plato's views on art in the Republic delve deep into questions of representation, truth, and influence. His skepticism towards art, grounded in his theory of forms and ethical concerns, has ignited debates that have persisted for over 2 millennia. Engaging with his perspectives allows us not only to understand ancient views on art but also to reflect upon the role and impact of artistic representations in our own contemporary contexts. Education in the Republic. Plato's vision for enlightenment and statecraft in the Republic. Plato offers an intricate exploration of education, weaving it integrally into the fabric of his ideal state. To Plato, education isn't merely a tool for personal advancement. It's the very foundation on which the health and prosperity of the polis depend. Through this text, he formulates a systematic pedagogical approach that serves both individual enlightenment and societal harmony. Aim of education in the ideal state. At the outset, it's crucial to understand what Plato aims to achieve with education. For him, the ultimate goal is the cultivation of the soul. Education should help citizens realize their potential, discern the truth, and understand the good. It's an ongoing journey of transformation, leading to the harmonization of the 3 parts of the soul: reason, spirit, and appetite. Educational foundation. Music and gymnastics. The early stages of education in the ideal state focus on music and gymnastics. 1. Music. By this, Plato doesn't just mean melodies, but also encompasses poetry and literature. This education aims to nurture the soul, instill virtue, and shape character. Specific content, like the Homeric epics, undergoes censorship to ensure that only morally uplifting and state-sanctioned tales are relayed. 2. Gymnastics. Physical training complements the nurturing of the soul. It cultivates discipline, courage, and health, essential for the guardians of the state. Together, music and gymnastics create a balanced foundation, harmonizing the spiritual and physical aspects of the individual. Advanced studies, mathematics and dialectics. As education progresses, Plato introduces more abstract disciplines. 1. Mathematics. This includes arithmetic, geometry, and astronomy. Plato sees mathematics as a bridge to higher philosophical understanding. Its abstract nature cultivates the mind's ability to grasp non-physical truths, making it a stepping stone to the realm of the forms. 2. Dialectics. the pinnacle of education, dialectics or philosophical reasoning, helps individuals discern eternal truths directly. Through questioning, analysis, and debate, students develop the capacity to understand the forms, especially the form of the good, which is paramount for philosopher kings. Education and the tripartite society. Plato's ideal state is divided into three classes: producers, auxiliaries, and guardians. Education plays a pivotal role in this stratification. 1. Producers. Their education is rudimentary, focused on crafts, trade, and their specific roles within the state. 2. Auxiliaries. Beyond basic education, they undergo rigorous physical and moral training to ensure they can protect the city and uphold its values. 3. Guardians. They receive the most extensive education, culminating in dialectical training. Only those who grasp the form of the good are fit to rule, as they can discern what's best for the state. The allegory of the cave, integral to Plato's educational philosophy, is the allegory of the cave, which illustrates the transformative power of learning. Prisoners in a cave, seeing only shadows, take these illusions for reality. Education, in this allegory, is the process of turning from the shadows, leaving the cave, and seeing the external world illuminated by the sun. This journey symbolizes the soul's ascent from ignorance to enlightenment. Critiques and considerations. Plato's educational blueprint isn't without controversies. 1. Censorship. His call for the state to censor tales and music raises questions about freedom of expression and the potential for state propaganda. 2. Fixed roles. The stratification of society based on education and perceived aptitude has been critiqued for being deterministic, potentially stifling individual aspirations. 3. Exclusivity. The rigorous and extended education for guardians might seem elitist, establishing a hierarchy of knowledge and power. Contemporary reflections. Engaging with Plato's ideas on education allows us to reflect on modern educational paradigms. 1. Holistic development. Just as Plato emphasized music and gymnastics alongside intellectual pursuits, the modern focus on holistic education seeks to nurture both the mind and the body. 2. Critical thinking. Plato's emphasis on dialectics resonates with today's emphasis on developing critical thinking and analytical skills in students. 3. Purpose of education. The tension between education for individual enlightenment and societal needs, as discussed in the Republic, remains relevant today, with debates on the aims and outcomes of educational systems. Plato's vision of education in the Republic is a testament to his profound understanding of human nature and society. While certain aspects might seem dated or controversial, the core principle, that education is foundational to personal and societal well-being, remains timeless. Whether one agrees or disagrees with his specific proposals, engaging with them offers invaluable insights into the role of education in shaping both individuals and civilizations. Critique of democracy in the Republic, Plato's concerns and their enduring relevance. In the Republic, Plato delves into a systematic critique of various forms of government, including democracy. His apprehensions about democracy emerged not out of disdain for the concept, but from a deep concern about its inherent vulnerabilities. By understanding these critiques, we not only gain insight into Plato's political philosophy but also find echoes in modern debates on the strengths and weaknesses of democratic systems. Democracy in Plato's city-state evolution. In his typology of regimes, Plato outlines an evolution of city-states, from aristocracy to democracy, oligarchy, democracy, and finally, tyranny. For Plato, democracy arises when the poor, having overthrown an oligarchic regime, share power. This progression hints at the inherent instability and the potential for decline within each system. Fundamental concerns with democracy. 1. Excessive freedom. Plato views democratic societies as highly permissive, where each person is free to live as they choose. While freedom is inherently valuable, unchecked freedom can lead to anarchy, as individuals prioritize their desires without considering the collective good. 2. Lack of expertise. In a democracy, ruling is open to everyone irrespective of their knowledge or expertise in governance. This means that important decisions might be made by those ill-equipped to do so, leading to suboptimal or even detrimental outcomes for the state. 3. Moral relativism. In a democracy's permissive environment, there's a danger of losing objective standards of right and wrong. If every individual's opinion holds equal weight, it can become difficult to discern and uphold ethical truths. 4. Populism and demagoguery. The democratic system, especially in its direct form, is vulnerable to charismatic demagogues who can sway the masses with rhetoric rather than reason. Such figures can manipulate public sentiment, potentially leading to decisions that harm the state. 5. Short-termism. The need for popular approval might drive leaders to prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability and well-being. This can lead to policies that offer immediate gratification but undermine future prosperity. 6. Potential for tyranny. Ironically, the very freedom that defines democracy can set the stage for its downfall. As factions form and the state becomes more polarized, there's a risk that a demagogue will seize control, promising to restore order but ultimately establishing a tyranny. Reflections in modern democracies. Plato's ancient critique finds resonance in contemporary democratic systems. 1. Role of expertise. The tension between technocracy and democratic decision-making remains a point of debate, especially in matters like public health or environmental policy, where specialized knowledge is crucial. 2. Populism. Modern democracies, especially with the rise of social media, have seen the ascent of populist leaders who, through charisma and rhetoric, mobilize large sections of the populace, sometimes at the expense of minority rights or long-term policy visions. 3. Information overload. The democratic ideal of an informed citizenry is challenged by the sheer volume of information and misinformation. In the face of this, individuals may base decisions on emotion or incomplete understanding. 4. Erosion of shared values. As societies become more diverse and information more fragmented, finding common ground or a shared set of values becomes challenging, echoing Plato's concerns about moral relativism. Counterarguments and the value of democracy. While Plato's critiques offer valuable insights, democracies have inherent strengths and have evolved mechanisms to address some of these concerns. 1. Self-correction. Democracies, by their nature, have the capacity for introspection and self-correction. The regularity of elections allows for course corrections if leaders or policies don't meet the populace's approval. 2. Protection of rights. Modern democracies, especially liberal ones, prioritize the protection of individual rights, ensuring that the tyranny of the majority is curbed. 3. Decentralization. The diffusion of power, often through checks and balances, can prevent the concentration of power that Plato feared would lead to tyranny. 4. Active civil society. A vibrant civil society can serve as a bulwark against potential governmental overreach or populism. Plato's critique of democracy in the Republic offers a nuanced understanding of the potential pitfalls of a system that, today, is widely embraced. While some of his concerns might seem distant or overly pessimistic, they serve as a reminder that no political system is infallible. The challenges he identified invite contemporary democracies to introspect, innovate, and strengthen the foundations that uphold freedom and collective well-being. The decline of states in the Republic. Plato's analysis of political degeneration. In the Republic, Plato doesn't just outline his vision of the ideal state, but also meticulously deconstructs how states can deteriorate over time. Through a systematic examination of political regression, Plato offers insights into the inherent fragilities of different political systems and the moral decay that accompanies such decline. Plato's typology of regimes. Central to Plato's analysis is his categorization of 5 types of regimes, listed from the best to the worst: aristocracy, timocracy, oligarchy, democracy, and tyranny. Each transition to a lesser form represents a step in the decline, driven by specific weaknesses in societal dynamics. 1. Aristocracy. This is Plato's ideal state, governed by philosopher kings who rule guided by the form of the good. Virtue and wisdom are paramount, and rulers prioritize the well-being of the state above personal desires. 2. Democracy. In a democratic state, rulers are motivated more by honor and ambition than the common good. While it retains some of the aristocracy's virtues, there's a subtle shift from pure wisdom to pride and a desire for recognition. 3. Oligarchy. This regime is marked by governance by a wealthy elite. Power is concentrated among those with material resources. The state starts to fragment as the gap between the rich and the poor widens, leading to societal tensions. 4. Democracy. Emerging from the discontentment of the many against oligarchic inequities, democracy emphasizes freedom and equality. However, as previously discussed, Plato sees this freedom as a double-edged sword, potentially leading to anarchy and moral relativism. 5. Tyranny. The culmination of political decline. Tyranny arises when a demagogue exploits democratic freedoms, mobilizes the masses, and establishes autocratic rule. The tyrant's whims replace the common good as the guiding principle. The moral dimension of decline. Plato's analysis is deeply intertwined with morality. The decline from aristocracy to tyranny isn't just a political regression but also a moral descent. The philosopher kings of the aristocracy embody reason and virtue, while the tyrant is a slave to his passions and desires. Drivers of decline. Several factors contribute to the transition from one regime to another. 1. Weakening of foundational values. As states move away from the ideal, foundational values like wisdom, courage, and moderation are eroded, replaced by ambitions, materialism, or the unchecked pursuit of freedom. 2. Economic disparities. Especially in the shift from democracy to oligarchy and beyond, economic disparities play a crucial role. As wealth gets concentrated, societal cohesion is undermined, leading to class conflicts. 3. Loss of civic virtue. In democracies, the emphasis on individual freedoms might come at the cost of collective responsibility or civic virtue. The lack of a shared moral compass can lead to societal fragmentation. 4. Manipulation and populism. The emergence of tyranny from democracy underscores the risk of charismatic leaders manipulating public sentiment for personal gain. Contemporary reflections. Plato's blueprint of political decline offers lenses through which we can evaluate modern states. 1. Value erosion. Modern democracies, while resilient, aren't immune to the erosion of foundational values. Polarization, a decline in public discourse quality, or a loss of trust in institutions can be seen as symptoms of such erosion. 2. Economic inequities. The widening wealth gap in several countries resonates with Plato's concerns about oligarchic tendencies and the resultant societal strains. 3. Populism. The rise of populist leaders in various democracies mirrors Plato's warnings about demagoguery leading to autocratic rule. 4. Resilience and reform. On a positive note, modern democracies, with their checks and balances, civil society activism, and global interconnectedness, often demonstrate a capacity for self-correction, reflecting a resilience Plato might not have foreseen. Plato's dissection of the decline of states in the Republic is a potent exploration of political and moral decay. While formulated in the context of ancient Greece, the principles he touches upon are universally applicable, offering timeless insights into the vulnerabilities and dynamics of political systems. His meticulous analysis underscores the need for vigilance, moral integrity, and collective responsibility to maintain the health and virtue of a state. In an age of complex political challenges, Plato's ancient wisdom provides invaluable guidance on navigating the delicate balance between individual freedoms and collective well-being. The immortality of the soul in the Republic, Plato's philosophical argument and its enduring significance. In the Republic, the concept of the soul's immortality emerges not merely as a religious or metaphysical assertion but as a foundation for ethical behavior and the pursuit of the good life. This belief in eternal life and the implications it has for our temporal existence is a cornerstone of Platonic philosophy. Plato's conception of the soul. Plato posits a tripartite model of the soul, dividing it into the rational, spirited, and appetitive parts. The harmonious integration of these parts ensures a virtuous life. However, For our discussion, the soul's enduring nature, beyond the confines of the mortal body, is of primary focus. Arguments for the soul's immortality. 1. Argument from recollection. Drawing from his theory of forms, Plato suggests that when we recognize abstract concepts like beauty, justice, or equality, we are recalling memories from a pre-existential realm. The soul has encountered the purer forms before its incarnation, suggesting it existed before birth and will continue to exist after death. 2. Argument from cyclical opposites. Everything in the world comes to be from its opposite, for example, sleep from waking. Similarly, life must come from death, implying a cycle. Souls, thus, must be reborn, pointing to their immortality. 3. Argument from affinity. The soul, being non-material, is more akin to the unchanging, eternal forms than the transient, physical world. As the forms are eternal, so must the soul be. Implications of the soul's immortality. 1. Moral accountability. The belief in an immortal soul carries with it the implication of eternal consequences. If the soul continues its existence post-death, then the choice is made during one's earthly existence of repercussions beyond the grave. This establishes a framework for moral responsibility. 2. Pursuit of the good life. With the soul's eternity in mind, the focus of life shifts from short-term, materialistic pursuits to the attainment of wisdom, virtue, and the true understanding of the forms, especially the form of the good. 3. Reincarnation and transmigration. Following from his arguments, Plato also touches upon the idea of the soul's reincarnation. Souls return in new bodies, and their conditions in the subsequent life are a reflection of the virtues or vices they embodied in the previous one. 4. Philosophy as preparation for death. In the Republic and other dialogues, Plato suggests that philosophy is essentially a preparation for death. Philosophers, by aligning their souls with the realm of forms and abstract truths, are best prepared for the soul's journey post-death. Contemporary reflections and critiques. 1. Philosophical. Many later philosophers, while acknowledging Plato's influence, have questioned the immortality of the soul. For instance, materialist perspectives argue against any non-physical entity's existence, suggesting consciousness and self-awareness end with bodily death. 2. Scientific. With advances in neuroscience, the understanding of consciousness, self-awareness, and what traditionally was termed as soul has become more grounded in brain functions. This challenges the concept of an immortal, non-material soul. 3. Religious. While many religious traditions, especially in the Abrahamic faiths, endorse the idea of an immortal soul, their conceptions often differ from Platonic views. The nature of afterlife, judgment, and the soul's journey can vary widely. 4. Ethical implications. Plato's assertion that belief in the soul's immortality is foundational for ethical behavior has been both supported and contested. Some argue that morality must be intrinsic and not based on rewards or punishments in an afterlife. The immortality of the soul in the Republic offers a profound exploration of life's purpose, moral responsibility, and the nature of existence. While framed in the context of ancient Greek thought, the questions Plato raises touch upon universal human concerns. Whether one accepts or refutes the idea of the soul's eternal nature, its discussion in the Republic challenges us to contemplate the nature of existence, the pursuit of virtue, and the quest for a meaning in our transient lives. In an age of rapid scientific advancements and shifting philosophical landscapes, Plato's meditations on the soul remain a timeless call to introspection and a deeper understanding of the self.